all women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children, men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts: the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendis 8. Redpilled Father. Lessons for Life about out-of-control women. Written by Conrad Riker. Available now. Links in description. Redpilled Father. A field guide for men who still notice reality. Cardigan of Chaos. How feminist performance art replaces reason with ritual, taxes men, and burns civilization for a 20 ring. You know what else feels like sovereignty? A shovel. Because when the storm hits and the levee breaks, someone has to dig, not wrap themselves in an 89 cardigan and whisper incantations to their acupressure ring like a suburban witch who discovered the secret and thinks retail therapy counts as revolution. I used to believe the lies, you're toxic, you're oppressive, you need to check your privilege, until I stood in a family court hallway watching a father sob into his hands because he hadn't seen his kids in 472 days. His crime? Asking for equal time. Her counterclaim? He made me feel invalidated. That's it. No abuse, no violence, just he made me feel. And just like that, the state erased him. Not with a trial, not with evidence, with a feeling. And you want to talk about emotional labor? Let's talk about the 92% of workplace fatalities that are men. Let's talk about the 78% of suicides. Let's talk about the 15-year gap in life expectancy for homeless men versus women. Because when men break, society doesn't send flowers, it sends tasers. I once watched a woman post on Instagram, "This cardigan is my armor." Meanwhile, my brother wore body armor in Afghanistan, so she could have the luxury of typing that sentence without fear. He didn't have a protein bar. He had MREs that tasted like chalk and regret, and he didn't reclaim his space. He held the line so her coffee shop sovereignty rituals could exist. Feminism didn't free her, men did. Men built the roads, paid the taxes, died in the trenches, so she could buy a cardigan and pretend it was a battle standard, and now she calls that empowerment? That's not empowerment, that's plunder. You don't resist by consuming. You resist by producing, by protecting, by showing up. The patriarchy isn't crumbling, it's being pickpocketed while it sleeps, looted by those who've never shouldered a rifle, never filed a patent, never paid a child support bill on time because they could and still demand moral superiority. I was red-pilled the day I realized the most oppressed group in the West isn't defined by gender. It's defined by responsibility. And the only thing being revolutionized here is the scam, bunkum article by a feminist PhD. Oh my God, I just bought a cardigan. That's revolutionizing my whole feminist journey. Like, seriously. Have you ever put on the comfort cardigan and felt the entire weight of the patriarchy begin to crack? Because I did. And then I ate a protein bar. And then I slapped on my acupressure ring like it was a feminist halo. And now I'm here, typing this with tears in my eyes, because I finally understand what autonomy feels like. Case in point, my ex-boyfriend, Chad, total Chad, we were together for 2 years, and in that time, he never once noticed I was crying until I told him I was crying. And even then, he said, you good? like empathy is a Wi-Fi signal he has to manually connect to. Meanwhile, I was running his emotional support system 24/7, listening to his trauma about how hard it is being a man in today's world. Spoiler, not hard. I was the one remembering his mom's birthday, scheduling his dentist appointments, and holding space when he had a bad day from lifting weights too hard. This is the female emotional abuse cycle. We give, we nurture, we collapse, then they gaslight us for being needy, then we apologize, then we give more. It's a ritual, a sacred torment. And the only way out is through radical self-care, like buying 89 cardigans with self-love woven into every thread. And speaking of self-care, let's talk acupressure rings. These aren't jewelry, they're talismans. I wear mine on the middle finger, pun intended, to align my sacral chakra and remind the universe that I will not be penetrated emotionally, spiritually, or politically without consent. Every time I type, I feel the pressure point pulse with ancestral rage. It's like my great-great-grandmother, who was burned at the stake for knowing too much, is whispering, "Slay, bitch," and the protein bar, "Oh, honey." That's not a snack. That's a statement. Every time I bite into that dense, chalky, plant-based brick of empowerment, I'm rejecting the male gaze that told me to stay small, hungry, silent. I'm eating power. I'm chewing on the bones of the patriarchy. And yes, it tastes like cardboard, because liberation isn't supposed to be sweet. It's supposed to hurt the oppressor. Let's be real. The world is built for men. Our cities, our laws, our grocery stores, all optimized for male convenience. Men don't need acupressure rings because their emotions are validated on command. They don't need cardigans because they've already stolen all the warmth. And they don't need protein bars because they've been eating the feast of power for centuries. But we have to craft our comfort from the scraps. We have to turn a 20 ring into a weapon. We have to turn a cardigan into armor. We have to turn a protein bar into a manifesto. And while I'm at it, let's talk about beauty procedures. Because every time I get a facial or tweak my brows, I'm not conforming, I'm commandeering. I'm taking the tools of oppression and using them to build a temple. Western beauty standards, co-opted, capitalist aesthetics, hacked. My face is a battleground and I'm winning one serum at a time. Men love to say, "Why do you need all this stuff?" As if emotional regulation, self-preservation, and aesthetic sovereignty are luxuries. As if we should just be natural while they pollute the planet and dominate every institution. Newsflash, nature is female and she's pissed. So next time you see a woman in a cozy cardigan, chewing a protein bar, spinning her acupressure ring like a dark priestess of self-worth, don't mock her, recognize her. She's not lost, she's awake, and she's not shopping. She's resisting. The patriarchy is crumbling. One cardigan, one bite, one pressure point at a time. Solipsism in satin, the collapse of feminist epistemology into emotional theocracy. You know what's actually revolutionary? A man who doesn't apologize for being right. While you were busy feeling the weight of the patriarchy crack beneath an 89 cardigan, I was reading Aristotle and realizing you've confused retail therapy with epistemology. Let's be precise. Epistemology is the study of knowledge, specifically beliefs that are justified, true, and held as fact. But your sovereignty blanket fails all three criteria. It's not justified by logic, not true in any measurable sense, and belief in it is entirely performative. You don't know you're sovereign, you feel like it while wrapped in synthetic yawn and self-delusion. That's not empowerment, that's epistemic collapse. You've replaced evidence with emotion and now call it embodiment. Newsflash, a cardigan doesn't make you free. Paying your own rent does, filing your own taxes does. Not relying on a man's insurance paycheck or emotional scaffolding does, but you won't do those things because real autonomy requires sacrifice, not shopping. And let's dissect this myth of emotional labor you're peddling. You claim you were Chad's emotional support system, running his life like some martyr of love. But where's the data? Men die by suicide at a rate 3.5 times higher than women. They're twice as likely to be homeless. They make up 80% of workplace fatalities and 93% of combat deaths. And yet, you frame them as emotionally idle. That's not analysis, that's propaganda. Emotional labor isn't a female monopoly. It's a human burden exacerbated by feminist ideology that pathologizes male stoicism. You tell men to open up, then mock them when they do. Like that Reddit thread where women voted men crying in public as the least attractive thing a man can do. So, which is it? Be soft, but not too soft. Be vulnerable, but not needy. Be present, but don't expect reciprocity. That's not emotional labor, that's emotional blackmail. And you're the ringleader. You say nature is female, as if that means anything beyond poetic babble. Nature isn't a goddess. It's indifferent. It doesn't side with women. It doesn't care about your chakras or your cardigan. What nature does care about is survival, and men die earlier in every demographic group on Earth. They die more in infancy, more in childhood, more in war, more in accidents, more from suicide, more from heart disease. If nature favored women, it would show in the biology, not just in your Instagram captions. And don't get me started on your acupressure ring spun like a dark priestess of self-worth. That's not empowerment. That's occult cosplay. You've turned self-help into a pagan ritual, where a 20 ring on your middle finger, pun intended, somehow aligns your sacral chakra, while you ignore the fact that real power comes from discipline, not doodads. If pressure points could liberate women, then foot massages would have ended oppression in 1848. But they didn't, because magic doesn't work, action does, work does, building does. And men have been doing that while you've been busy holding space for your ex's trauma from lifting weights too hard. Let's talk about that ex, Chad. You paint him as emotionally stunted, but here's the irony, you broke up with him. So either he wasn't that bad, or you're just bad at relationships. But no, can't be that. It must be the patriarchy. You claim he didn't notice you crying until you told him. Okay, fine. But did you ever consider that men are socialized to suppress emotional expression by your feminist movement? You scream about toxic masculinity, then punish men for not being emotionally expressive. Then you punish them again when they try. It's a no-win game, and you designed it. You want emotional labor without reciprocation. You want care without cost. You want to be the giver and the victim at the same time. That's not a relationship. That's a cult, and you're the high priestess and the protein bar, chewing on the bones of the patriarchy. That's not just absurd. It's class resentment in a wrapper. You're eating a Ford-processed bar made in a factory, shipped by male truckers, taxed by male-dominated governments, and you call it liberation? Meanwhile, men pay 80% of federal income taxes and fund every social program you benefit from. You don't eat the bones of the patriarchy, you consume its bounty while stabbing it in the back. Every welfare check, every alimony payment, every family court ruling biased against fathers, you're feasting on male productivity while calling it resistance. That's not empowerment, that's parasitism with a hashtag. You say men don't need cardigans because they've stolen all the warmth. But men are 3.5 times more likely to die from hypothermia because they're the ones fixing your car in the snow, rescuing you from the mountain, working the night shift in unheated warehouses. They don't have time for cozy knits because they're busy keeping civilization running. You wrap yourself in a sovereignty blanket while men freeze so you can stay warm. That's not patriarchy, that's sacrifice, and you call it oppression. And let's address the elephant in the room. You don't actually believe half of this. This isn't a feminist manifesto, it's a performance. You post this to Instagram with a filter, a flat lay, and a hashtag cardigan revolution. You don't want change, you want attention. You want to be seen as awake, as resisting, as sacredly tormented. But real resistance doesn't come from buying things, it comes from building things. Men built the pyramids, wrote the Constitution, landed on the moon and coded the internet. All while you were busy holding space for your emotional labor. You didn't build a damn thing. You just consume and rebrand. You claim your face is a battleground, but you're not fighting oppression, you're fighting biology, and you lose every time. Botox fades, fillers dissolve, serums don't stop time, but men, we fight real battles. We fight in courts where 70% of family judges are women, and 90% of child support orders favor mothers, even when fathers are the primary caregivers. We fight in hospitals where male mental health is ignored. We fight in schools where boys are medicated for normal behavior. We fight in workplaces where men are fired first during layoffs. That's a battleground. Your skincare routine is a spa day. And let's not forget the ultimate betrayal, abortion. You claim to value life, but not when it's inconvenient. 58% of abortions in the US are performed on women who already have children, women who chose motherhood, then chose to discard it. And yet, you claim men are the ones who abandon? Try again. Men are legally required to pay child support even when the mother aborts, but women can walk away from fatherhood with a pill. That's not equality, that's asymmetrical responsibility, and you're the beneficiary. So no, your cardigan isn't revolutionary. It's a security blanket for your ego. Your acupressure ring isn't a talisman, it's a tchotchke for your trauma theater. Your protein bar isn't chewing on the patriarchy, it's subsidized by it. And your entire narrative, it's not feminism. It's gynocentric solipsism, the belief that your feelings are facts, your pain is unique, and your consumption is resistance. It's not just wrong, it's dangerous. Because while you're busy feeling awake, real men are dying, disappearing, and being erased, all so you can write poetic nonsense about knitting and rage. Wake up. The revolution isn't wrapped in satin. It's built in silence, paid in blood, and sustained by men who don't need a ring to know their worth. I've watched the rituals unfold, the whispered affirmations, the sacred cardigans, the acupressure talismans, and realized I wasn't seeing empowerment, I was witnessing a theology, a liturgy of grievance disguised as self-care, where every purchase is baptized as resistance, and every emotion is elevated to dogma. And in that moment, the veil tore. This isn't feminism, it's feminitis, a chronic ideological infection that pathologizes male contribution while sanctifying female consumption. The tyranny of triflers, how feminist consumerism inverts power and rewrites history. You know what's more revolutionary than an '89 cardigan? A man who pays for it, and 4 others just like it, while working a double shift so his wife can reclaim her sovereignty on a couch he bought in a house he mortgaged, in a country he'll die defending. Let's cut through the performative mist. When a woman calls her cardigan a sovereignty blanket, she's not making a fashion statement, she's confessing. She's admitting that her autonomy depends on a man-made textile industry, a global supply chain of male labor, and a financial system built and sustained almost entirely by taxed male income. She wraps herself in cotton, spun by men, woven by machines designed by men, shipped across oceans on tankers, crewed by men, and then declares herself free from men. That's not liberation, that's parasitism with branding. Let's define terms. Sovereignty means self-governance, autonomy, control over one's domain. It does not mean wearing soft clothes while complaining about men on a MacBook powered by rare earth metals mined by Congolese boys for Apple, a company founded by a man. If she were truly sovereign, she'd shear the sheep, spin the wool, build the loom, and code the e-commerce site herself. But she won't, because she's not interested in actual independence. She's addicted to symbolic resistance. She wants the aesthetic of rebellion without the burden of production. She wants to consume her way to empowerment while men produce the world around her. That's not feminism, that's feudalism with affirmations. And let's talk about this emotional labor racket. She claims she ran her ex-boyfriend's emotional support system 24/7. Fine. Let's audit that claim. In the US, men die by suicide at nearly 4 times the rate of women. Why? Because society has spent decades pathologizing male emotional expression while feminizing therapy, counseling, and mental health services into spaces where men are made to feel broken for not crying on command. Meanwhile, women initiate 70% of divorces, often after years of silent resentment they refuse to communicate until they'd already checked out emotionally. That's not emotional labor, that's emotional ambush. She doesn't hold space for her man. She withholds it until he fails her unspoken tests, then weaponizes her silence as proof of his inadequacy. This isn't nurture, it's neglect disguised as care. She mocks Chad for not noticing her tears, yet never considers that men are biologically wired to solve problems, not marinate in feelings. When a man sees distress, his instinct is to fix it. But modern women don't want solutions. They want performance. They want the man to perform concern, to mirror their emotional state like a trained parrot. When he fails, they call him emotionally unavailable. When he tries to fix it, they call him dismissive. This is not a flaw in men, it's a shit test designed to fail. And women have been running this psychological Ponzi scheme for decades, collapsing marriages, families, and male self-worth in the process. Now the acupressure ring. She wears it on her middle finger, pun intended, to align her sacral chakra and channel ancestral rage. Let's be clear, this is not spirituality, this is satanic inversion. Real spirituality seeks harmony, redemption, transcendence. This is possession, a ritualized worship of victimhood, where pain becomes power and grievance becomes godhood. She's not connecting with ancestors, she's channeling the ghost of every manipulative matriarch who ever guilt-tripped a man into surrender. And the middle finger, that's not rebellion, that's infantile defiance. A man raises a middle finger when he's disrespected. A woman raises one when she's not getting her way. One is defiance. The other is tantrum and the protein bar. Chewing on the bones of the patriarchy, she says. No, honey, you're chewing on soy isolate, subsidized by taxpayer dollars, 80% of which come from men. You're not eating power, you're eating male productivity. Every bite is funded by a man who woke up at 5 a.m. to work a job he hates so you can afford to reject the male gaze while scrolling Instagram on a device made in a Foxconn factory by men working 80-hour weeks. You're not resisting the patriarchy, you're gorging on its corpse while pretending you didn't help kill it. She claims cities are optimized for male convenience. Let's test that. In the US, there are over 6,000 domestic violence shelters, nearly all exclusively for women. Men, they're told to man up or sleep in their cars, public restrooms. Women's lines are shorter because they get priority in design. Family courts, men lose custody 83% of the time, even when equally fit parents. Child support enforced by armed state agents against men. Meanwhile, women can abort on demand, keep the child and sue for support, or disappear entirely, all legally protected. That's not male optimization, that's female supremacy with a participation trophy. She says nature is female, and she's pissed. No, nature is indifferent. It doesn't care about your cardigan or your chakras. Nature rewards strength, resilience, and production. And who produces? Men build the cities. Men fight the wars. Men pay the taxes. Men die on oil rigs, in mines, on construction sites for every woman who dies in one. That's not oppression, that's sacrifice. And what do women give in return? A 20 ring and a protein bar manifesto. If that's revolution, I'd hate to see her counter-revolution. The truth is this, feminism isn't about equality, it's about inversion. It's about taking every male virtue, duty, honor, provision, and reframing it as oppression. It's about turning female weakness, dependency, emotionality, risk aversion into moral superiority. It's about burning down the cathedral of Western civilization, the one built by men who believed in truth, beauty, and the good, and replacing it with a spa retreat for the perpetually offended. And the saddest part? Men are funding it all. They're taxed into servitude, emotionally blackmailed into compliance, and then mocked for not understanding when they finally break. So, when you see that woman in her sovereignty blanket, don't see a rebel, see a parasite on the corpse of masculinity. And ask yourself, how much longer will we let women destroy the world and then sell us the merch for their healing journey? You think a cardigan makes you sovereign? Try building the factory that weaves the wool, mining the ore for the machines, shipping it across oceans while pirates and storms try to sink you. That's sovereignty. You wear a 9 ring like it's Excalibur, while men die in mines, on battlefields, in construction cranes, so you can sit in climate-controlled rage and call eating a protein bar resistance. Let me tell you what real oppression looks like. It's your son getting 72% of custody denied despite equal income. It's your brother being arrested for saying ma'am to a woman who reports him for emotional abuse. It's your father paying child support for a kid DNA proved wasn't his, but the court said tough. Pay anyway. That's not patriarchy, that's gynocracy in drag. Women initiate 70% of divorces, control 80% of family court outcomes, yet scream victim while draining men dry. You talk about emotional labor. Men die by suicide every 11 minutes in the US alone, unheard, unheld, because your feminist revolution told them to suppress their pain while you spin acupressure rings like a warlock, chanting spells against masculinity. You claim to reclaim your body? Meanwhile, women abort 93% of Down syndrome fetuses, because even the unborn aren't good enough unless they're perfect for your narrative. You don't want equality, you want supremacy, dressed up as healing. You say cities are built for men? Then why do women live 5 years longer, use 80% of mental health services, and occupy 60% of university seats, while men rot in prisons or vanish into the woods? You call your cardigan armor? Real armor stops bullets, not your boyfriend's indifference. I've walked through war zones, negotiated with warlords, built schools in places where girls were stoned for reading, and I've never once thought a sweater could liberate anyone. Liberation isn't bought. It's earned in silence, in sacrifice, in showing up when no one claps. You want to fight the patriarchy? Fine. But don't pretend your shopping cart is a chariot. The real patriarchy isn't men in power. It's the lie that women are helpless, that feelings trump facts, that every inconvenience is oppression. Break that spell. Stop worshiping at the altar of your own outrage. Build something, fix something, protect someone. Then come talk to me about power. Until then, keep your cardigan. I'll take the truth. And now the sponsored book introduction, Redpilled Father. Lessons for life about out-of-control women. You ever wake up one morning and realize you've been lied to your entire life? Not by a woman, though they'll lie to your face with a smile, but by the whole damn system. I did, and it cost me everything. I was the nice guy. The one who opened doors, paid for dates, listened to her problems, believed in love, thought being kind was enough. I got played, used, discarded. And when I dared to speak up, they called me toxic, bitter, entitled. Like I was the problem, but I wasn't the problem. The problem was that no one ever told me the rules of the game, because the game was rigged against men like me. I spent my 20s chasing validation from women, from bosses, from society, while they stripped me of power, dignity, and truth. I watched as women I dated treated me like an ATM with a pulse. One dumped me for a guy who made less money, but wore a leather jacket and glared at her. Another cried for weeks when I wanted to set a boundary, then slept with my best friend 2 months later. I went to therapy like they told me, talked about my feelings, got called weak. Then I shut up, built a business, made money, stayed silent, and suddenly women wanted me. Funny how that works. That's when I realized love isn't real. Respect is earned, power is taken. This book isn't for snowflakes. It's not for men who still believe in fairy tales or think a heartfelt letter will make her come back. This is for men who've been gutted, used, and left for dead, men who are sick of being told to apologize for existing. If you're a man who's had enough of being treated like an emotional servant, if you're tired of watching women trade youth and attention for status while you grind in silence, then this book is your weapon. It's not therapy. It's not self-help fluff. It's a field manual written in blood and betrayal. You'll learn how women shit test you every damn day. Not because they hate you, but because they're programmed to find the strongest male. Failed the test, and you're discarded. Pass it, and you command respect. You'll learn why vulnerability is a trap, why feminism is just Marxism with a lipstick, and why your 30s are when you finally become dangerous if you didn't waste your 20s begging for affection. I'll show you how boundaries aren't harsh. They're the only thing standing between you and emotional slavery. How Stoicism isn't coldness, it's control. How money isn't evil, it's freedom. And how the sexual marketplace doesn't care about your feelings, it cares about your value. If you're a woman looking for validation, close this book now. This isn't for you. Go write another op-ed about toxic masculinity. If you're a man who still believes in soulmates and emotional openness, put this down and go cry to your therapist. They'll love you for it. But if you're a man who's ready to stop being played, who wants to build unshakable strength, who's ready to rise above the lies and become the kind of man women can't manipulate, then keep reading. The red pill isn't about hate, it's about truth, and the truth will set you free, even if it burns on the way down. Redpilled Father. Lessons for life about out-of-control women. Written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.